On August 4, 1955, the city of Freeport was born. During the early 1950s, American investor Wallace Groves had a vision to transform the pine barren forests of Grand Bahama Island into a well-planned, developed city. In his own words, there were too many disadvantages to doing so, but none that could not be cured by planning, work, and money. As in other matters, Groves was a visionary seeing ahead of his time. Joined by British financier Sir Charles Hayward, their vision for development led to negotiations with the government of the Bahamas and the signing of the monumental Hawksbill Creek Agreement over 50 years ago. The agreement mandated that the Port Authority dredge a deep water harbor and also be responsible for the provision, management, and administration of all infrastructure, municipal and community services, and development within the original 50,000 acres of Crown land that was granted, which was later extended to 138,000 acres and now encompasses 160,000 acres known as the Port Area, or 230 square miles of the island's entire 530 square miles. Having a major objective of establishing an industrial community in Grand Bahama, the Port Authority was to further promote and encourage the establishment of factories and industries to benefit the Bahamian economy and provide employment for the colony's citizens. The agreement also conveyed to the area the legacy of a free port, with substantial tax concessions for financial, commercial, and industrial enterprises for a standard British leasehold period of 99 years until 2054. As the Hawksbill Creek Agreement allowed the Port Authority to choose the name of their town, Groves chose the self-descriptive name of Freeport.
When I arrived in 1968, there was nothing downtown. One of the first buildings that got put up actually was the post office. And then I built the first Regent Centre, and obviously it continued after that. And then the Royal Bank got built, and Mr. Baker, and there were very few buildings. There was the Port Authority building downtown, Barclays Bank, the Seasum Manor, which is now bulldozed down, Jansel Court, and the pub on the Mall. Across the road from the pub on the Mall was just finished the International Bazaar. The island in general was booming. We have probably the best roads in any island in the Caribbean. We have the infrastructure. You've only got to look at Nassau. At least here, we say we're in a traffic jam, but the most of the traffic jams last 5 minutes. Go to Nassau, how long they last there. That's not just the reason. I think we've got a more upscale quality of life here. Yes, we are going through hard times, but I'm sure that will blow through eventually. And seen vast changes in 40 years, vast changes.
The Grand Bahama Port Authority fulfilled all of the mandates required under the 1955 agreement within the specified period. Primarily, the dredging of a deep-water harbor at least 400 feet in length and 27.3 feet in depth was accomplished within 3.5 years of the signing. Freeport's harbor now has 8,205 feet of berthing space and a depth of 52 feet, making it the deepest along the entire eastern seaboard of the United States. To allow access and egress, along with a deep-water port, an airport opened in Freeport in the late 1960s. A power plant was also commissioned. The tremendous impact of the port project was evident. Hence, in a supplemental agreement of 1960, the government mandated the Grand Bahama Port Authority to promote, encourage, and establish a much wider mix of businesses, as the government was satisfied that it would be economically beneficial to the Bahamas if other business enterprises could be created and developed. Other enterprises like tourism, gambling, residential, and real estate development. The 1960 amendment brought the Bahama Cement Company, the Grand Bahama Development Company, or DevCo, in 1961, and several schools, like St. Paul's Methodist College in the early 1960s, Mary Star of the Sea, 1960, Freeport High School in 1965, and Catholic High School in 1966. In 10 years, by 1965, the Grand Bahama Port Authority had fulfilled the original mandates and all additional obligations required under the 1960 amendments. The government, being desirous of encouraging and facilitating further development, again amended the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement. Under the 1966 Supplemental Agreement, the Port Authority was required to construct or procure the construction of 1,000 low- and middle-income homes, build schools to accommodate 1,400 students in the Pinders Point, Lewis Yard, Hunters, 8 Mile Rock, and Port area, construct 2 medical clinics in the Port area and Hawkesville, extend water lines to Pinders Point, Lewis Yard, and 8 Mile Rock, and contribute $10,000 towards the cost of town planning by the government in West Grand Bahama. This 1966 amendment brought even further growth with unprecedented touristic, residential, and industrial development.
In 1971, a Royal Commission was appointed to review the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement. Their finding? Anyone visiting Freeport today will see an utterly different place from the Pine Barren it was before the date of the first agreement. It is now a vast, sprawling area displaying unmistakable signs of a carefully planned development. Its importance is fundamental. Without it, there would be no Freeport.
In 1976, Sir Jack Hayward and Edward St. George acquired the interests of Wallace Groves and took over the Port Authority. Subsequently, in 1981, they bought all the remaining shares and privatized the company, ushering the Magic City into a new era.
In 1951, the population in Grand Bahama was just over 5,000, under 6,000 people in the entire island. Today, we can see so many more people. The population has grown in leaps and bounds. And so certainly without the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement, it could not have happened. There was not very much to come to Freeport for before the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement. Freeport began as an industrial undertaking. It was really for the development and construction of a deep water harbor and turning basin. And the persons who came here to do that, they wanted their families to come. And so by extension, again, you had to have the churches, the hospitals, the schools, the homes, and as a result, the development of Freeport grew from that of an industrial center to a developing community.